All right, folks, we are back on Atomic Facepalm. And this week on Played in Full, we reviewed Space Wing Hulk 40K Hammer Deathwing Hulk. Bree, what did you think of the game I just talked about?
The Hulk Hammer Space Wing.
Yeah, that's the one.
Not a fan.
Game sucked! Don't play it! It's terrible. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad that you like scream at someone not to play it, but oof. Not a good game.
Okay, so the actual game is Space Hulk Deathwing.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually had to think about it for a second. It is that game. It was developed by, I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Streamon Studio. Stream, I don't know. It's not that important. It was also co-developed by Cyanide. That one I can pronounce. I think they're French developers. And there is a little bit of a language barrier in the game, which is pretty hilarious that they didn't even fucking copy edit that part of it. So they did a previous game called that's an acronym for something, Divine Cybermancy. Can't say I played it.
Nope.
Can't say I heard of the damn game, which is not surprising. This game was released a few weeks ago, December 14th. It came out on PC, and it's actually a PC exclusive as of now. It's going to go to consoles sometime next year at an unconfirmed date. And it can fucking stay there, for all I'm concerned. It's roughly $30, I think.
It's on sale right now until January. It's like 15% off now, but don't
Unless
buy
they
it.
pay you, it ain't worth it. All right, so where do we start with this thing? I could go on a huge rant. I am a huge 40K guy. I have a huge collection of stuff to the point of ridiculousness. In fact, I had actually talked about maybe doing a channel just on 40K, like guys like Mini Wargaming or your favorite guy, Striking Scorpion 82. I like him. He's cool. And we even have, right here, we have the actual board game that the video game is not at all based on. So we actually have some experience in this run. We played a few missions of this, and a few missions can last a long time because you can each play one side. One person can play the Space Marines, one person can play the Gene Stealers. So this game is nothing like that.
No, so Space Hulk, the board game, super tactical, really fun, kind of slow, think your way through it. This game is, you're shooting hordes of things. A swarm shooter, you got a little squad, not like the board game at all.
Yeah, this game is a weird mix of a lot of genres, I feel like, and I maybe think that's why it's not so great. It tries to be a little bit like Doom. It tries to be like a really old game called Ghost Recon, or maybe a game you're more familiar with, whoever's watching. Rainbow Six, to a certain degree. It's squad-based, but it's so damn small with its squad, it's like, why'd you even bother? So
I felt like it was kind of Left 4 Dead. You know, you got your little...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
maybe it is more like Left 4 Dead, with the exception that it's all AI. There's no person playing the Infected or the Tyranids in this case.
Single player, yeah.
Yeah. There's only 3 of you, which is a weird number. So in this game of Space Hulk, it starts off with a squad, I think, of 5, and eventually you get to be like 3 squads of 6, and there's a librarian. I don't know why they chose just 3 Terminators for this one. That seemed weird.
Yeah, I didn't feel like they're particularly adding anything. They weren't. The AI wasn't great on them.
No, the AI is terrible.
Even when I buffed them up, they weren't great.
Yeah. So here's what the game is: the video game, not the board game. You play as a librarian whose name escapes me. I think he is named at some point. You're part of the Dark Angels chapter in 40K, not the Blood Angels. Space Hulk has traditionally been all Blood Angels, which I guess doesn't matter too much. Again, it's a weird arbitrary choice that they went with not only Dark Angels, but the specific elite wing, the first company. I think it's the first company in Dark Angels. I'm a Xenos guy. I don't play that much Space Marine, so I could be wrong there. But in the game, you play the Deathwing, which is an elite company in the Dark Angels. That much I do know. They're all Terminators, so you're a librarian Terminator. The object of the video game is to get from point A to point B. That's kind of seriously it. You start off with a map. You can see your whole map at once. You can even see, just like the board game, you can see where the Tyranids spawn.
Yeah,
most of the time.
It didn't feel like, on the map itself, it's going to have little dots where they're supposedly spawning, but I didn't feel like that necessarily happened all the time. Sometimes they were more trigger-based. As you walked into a room, suddenly they were spawning.
Yeah.
More than they were just slowly leaking out of these points on the map. It felt more like you go around a corner, open a certain door, then they'd come out. And I felt like the map didn't really tell you what they were doing.
Yeah, and that's the strange part is this is a board game, so it's turn-based, right? And there was even a video game created a few years back that was a direct recreation of the board game down to the mission types, the layout, etc. That wasn't a great game either, in my opinion. It played it a little, it was buggy, and it was flawed. But it was an accurate representation of Space Hulk. It captured the tense moments. See, in Space Hulk, even though your Terminators, which are in 40k terms really, really badass, and even on the tabletop, they're really damn hard to kill. They're the elite of the elite. They can take shots from like plasma guns, and they have an invulnerable save so they can survive sometimes. But in the board game of Space Hulk, they're pretty easy to kill if you get into close combat, which is the Gene Stealers in this case are a branch off of the Tyranids. See, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be confusing for people. And I feel like that's an issue too. If you're a 40k guy like me, you'll understand these nuances. But if you're just a random person playing a shooter, you can be like, what the fuck are Gene Stealers?
I didn't feel like it was... So I know a little bit about Warhammer, but I'm not the Warhammer person over here. I don't feel like that it didn't matter at all. And, I feel like that, they explained what story there was. They kind of do that through text and voiceover, but it didn't matter, really. It didn't feel like it was... Your mission was basically to get in there, go from the points on the map to the other points on the map, and shoot the hordes of crap in between.
Yeah.
I don't feel like if you knew what a Gene Stealer was or not, it's going to matter. You just need to kill the things that are trying to kill you.
But I think that's a problem, though, because who are they marketing this to? Are they marketing it to the Doom crowd?
Oh, there's a ton of problems with it. I'm just saying, I don't think that's what's taking away from this game, is them not explaining the Warhammer universe to you. There's many other issues.
I feel like, again, I'm coming at this from a very niche perspective. I am the hardest of chorused, I don't know if that's how you say that, but I'm pretty into Warhammer 40k. And I realize that even Space Hulk, the board game, is an offshoot of that to a degree. But I felt alienated in this game. That's a pretty good pun. Yes! I don't feel like they did a great job of portraying the 40k universe. And they were supposed to be all about that. Now, it's nitpicking, but there's hacking. There's no fucking hacking in 40k. That doesn't exist in the Imperium. Maybe in another part of the universe like Eldar or Tau, or hell, even Orcs, as weird as that sounds. The Imperium outlaws AI. Their version of AI is called a machine spirit. And what they think is that there's actually some weird spirit inside their machines coercing it. Like it's a soul, like a machine soul. So saying hacking would mean nothing to someone in the Imperium. So when you include that in the game, that goes... To me, it's like, did you even research the material? Did you read through one of these codexes, which you can get for like $20? Do your research, guys. It's not that complicated. Frustrating.
Yeah. I think my issues more just were, again, I'm not in the 40k universe kind of thing, but just gameplay. It felt like, you're, again, just going from point A to point B, shooting the things in between. End of mission kind of things or holding a point as things come at you. It just wasn't enough.
A lot of that.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to make me want to play the game. Like, I'm not going to come home from work and be like, oh man, I want to just walk through those halls really slowly and kill things that come at me. It just really, it needed more. Either they had a small skill tree, which was kind of interesting, but it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then the weapons that you got, you just got them. You couldn't equip enough that it didn't add enough of an RPG element where you're equipping items, looking for items. That's why you're going through the hallways. And it didn't have enough of a good, fun, tactical gameplay as you're going through the hallways. You never told your squad how to do things. They mostly healed you.
You technically could. And that brings us to another issue, which is bugs. There was a patch release today, which is what's today, 21st or something. We played before the patch. I finished the game today before we did the video. Bree did not finish it because the game was not that good.
It's the worst game. It's so bad.
I had to trudge through it. It's not to say I didn't have fun. It's not to say that they didn't try to make a good game. They just failed pretty hard. But the game had serious bugs. One of which, look guys, I have a really bizarre control scheme. I get that. However, I do invert my mouse. I don't feel like that's out of the ordinary. People invert their mouse.
I invert my mouse.
Yeah, there you go. And you're a pretty standard gamer when it comes to control schemes. You use WASD, you use probably like the basic stuff, right? Nothing out of the ordinary besides inverting the mouse. In this game, that breaks a lot of the stuff, at least before the patch. So when you go to your little radial dial, which again is very basic, go here, follow me, heal this person. It is backwards. It doesn't sound like much, but in a game like this where a lot of stuff is happening at once and you need to heal a specific person, they won't heal on their own, which is really fucking annoying, by the way. Why can't that be an option? If you're at low health, heal yourself.
Yeah. But and even if you could access the radio menu, it never really benefited you to send your squad somewhere than to hold down a hallway. That's what I meant by the tactical element. It just did not have that.
So that's a big issue. So outside of the 40k nitpicks, which I have plenty of, which I won't go into too much detail because no one's really going to know. Unless you're like me and you're the 2%ers who play Warhammer 40k and you read all this stuff religiously. Fine. But there is stuff related to Space Hulk that should be in there. Things like Overwatch, things like Guard, things like the Assault.
So they did have Guard, but it felt no different than what they were doing normally. They were always in Guard mode. I could never tell them, like, just chill out, stand still. They were always guarding. So the Guard command didn't make sense, and I didn't feel like I could say Guard here, and they'd stay there necessarily exactly at the spot.
So yeah, like you're saying, Guard is there, and I get that. And so there's, I guess, a component of Overwatch, but if it is, it's passive. And Overwatch in the board game means that you put them on alert to shoot anything that comes into their field of view. And Guard is the same way, except it's melee focused. So if those things are there, they're not made present. And it sounds trivial, but again, to the board game, it's really important because you've got to know when to do that or when not to do that, because there's advantages and disadvantages. And it provides tactical elements. There really isn't there's no tactical parts of this game other than, I guess, hide in a corner or make sure your guys are behind you or
Back to the wall was about the only tactical thing I felt at all was relevant.
Yeah. And getting back to the actual point of the game, I feel like maybe we should elaborate on that. Like you were saying, it really is point A to point B. And the idea of the story is pretty loose. It was written by Gavin Thorpe, who is actually a veteran of Games Workshop and makes Warhammer 40k. He's written a lot of codices, depending where you are. Codexes were these things again. Each faction in Warhammer 40k has a codex for their army, and each one does specific things. So this guy who wrote this story, and I say story in the loosest of terms, has been around a while. So you would expect it to be pretty good. And he actually wrote a Tyranid Codex a while back, which is who the Gene Stealers belong to. The story in this is really just they find a Space Hulk, which is a giant bunch of ships that got lumped together in the warp, which in 40k is a nether realm that they can travel through to get to distances across the galaxy quicker. It's like Event Horizon, if you've ever seen that. They get to go into this weird hellish dimension, and that's where the Space Hulks come from. They're trap ships that all get put in there. Eventually they come back out as this big asteroid full of crap. So they go in there, and they're usually good or bad. They're good because they have a bunch of technology they want to have, or in this case, it's an old lost ship that belonged to the Dark Angels that they want to go into and get their chapter's gene seed out of. And see, this again is where, for people who aren't familiar with 40k, this shit is going to be confusing.
I don't feel like they explained it at all, really. No. I mean, the story, like, when you're getting text, it's coming from your commander, it's very dry. Like, the driest of dry.
Yeah.
You go, do it, because I said so, kind of. This story was, skip, and then you get into the game, and then it's not delivered any better in the game either.
And the idea is there's, 9 missions total. Each mission has, like we said, a whole map, which you can see from the beginning. And throughout the mission, it's go here and get this data. Go here and rescue this guy. Make sure this is done. Make sure that's done. The only thing in between is there's waves of enemies that come at you, and there's a little timer that goes down. Oh, I'm going to be on this computer interface. Protect me, brother, for 3 minutes while there's waves of bad guys that come. It's about as interesting as it gets.
Yeah, I was expecting, the first mission, fine. It was an introduction mission, so it's going to be tutorial kind of time. Second mission, it ends the exact same way that the other one did, where you're holding a point while swarms come. Third mission, I think, again, was almost the exact same thing, where you're holding a point maybe, going to a point, clearing it out, going to another point, clearing it out.
And the graphics are good. It's made on Unreal Engine 4, and I have a GTX 980 with a Core i5 processor. It ran fine. I ran it at 1920 by 1080 resolution. There were some slowdowns, and I read on a lot of forums that people were having a lot of trouble.
And sometimes it sounded like some people would have one setup, another person would have the exact same setup, and they were having, one was having issues, one wasn't. I didn't have any issues.
I mean,
there was some slowdown when it was heat. Whenever there was like a heat kind of effect in the air, that was just...
And you have a GTX 1070.
Yep.
Same Core i5 processor. I think it's 6600K, I believe. Maybe 6500K. To double check that. But we have similar systems, same resolutions. I had all my settings set to the max.
Yep, same.
So it looked okay. I wouldn't say it looked great. But the actual design, the level design, is really quite good.
I'd say that was my favorite part of the game. Like, I'd almost want it to explore those maps without any monsters in them. Just to really be able to look around and look at the maps. There were really some cool stuff. Just like giant, like, space cathedrals and really ornate things everywhere. Statues. Just cool. That was my favorite part. When you're going around through that ship, it's really pretty in certain places. And then the creaking and groaning of the ship as it's like... Cause a bunch of ships stuck together, and you get that sense of that because it's like almost like it's going to fall apart on you.
Yeah, the sound design is good too.
Yeah, added to the atmosphere, I thought.
Great ambience, good overall design. If you're not familiar with 40K and you'd like to get an overall feel of what the universe is like from a visual perspective, great, it's good for that. Again, I wish there was a mode where you could just explore levels without any sort of threat, because that part of it's great. Art designers, sound designers, good job, guys. You did a good job, in my opinion, of representing what Space Hulk should be like. The problem is, the missions are bland. There's not many of them. I spent 12 or so hours total in the single-player campaign, from start to finish. And I wasn't that inspired. It's really the same gameplay over and over with just different concepts of art. As the librarian, you have a couple of psychic powers you can explore, which is just magic, space magic.
They were very small cooldown, if at all. You could pretty much just fire those off whenever you wanted to, which, was kind of fun as playing that. I did like the weapons. I liked trying out the different kinds of weapons. The flamethrower was super fun, That was fun. But.
You have your basic Space Hulk weapons. You have a few others that are chapter relics. So you have your Stormbolter, which is like a little machine gun. You have variations of that, like a shotgun burst damage part of it. You have the assault cannon, which is pretty important in Space Hulk. You have a heavy flamer. You have a plasma gun and like a named plasma gun. Again, though, they're not that different from Doom. They're not that different from other sci-fi shooters. So it's like, well, what's setting you apart here?
And nothing set this game apart. It was just very bland. It just felt like they didn't put enough effort into making an actual game. They kind of made the environment and took that off of the Warhammer universe, and then good enough. Shoot some stuff in this environment. And there's just not enough there. Not enough meat on the bones to make it a game.
So there are a lot of missteps. That's one of them. I also felt like in this game, Gene Stealers are wimps.
Yeah,
they just fold like paper, and that's not really what captures the essence of it. Like in games like Aliens vs. Predator 2, or I'm trying to think of some other games that try to capture that terrifying element. Like Alien, the recent Alien game was a great example where less is more. You don't have to throw waves upon waves of enemies to make it fun. You could have made them stronger and use less of them, so that when you do have the encounters, they're meaningful and there's that sort of like, oh my god, I've got to get through this. It's gonna be tough. That doesn't happen.
No, this felt like mowing the lawn. You just
stay in one place, move your gun around, reload.
I mean, that was kind of one of the tactical things, is to position myself in a place where they're gonna be streaming around the corner, and I can just aim at that spot and mow them down. That was kind of the tactical element to the game.
You get more weapons as you go through. They're just unlocked over time. It's not like you discover them. There are secret areas, but they have these things called relics, which do absolutely jack shit. They do nothing.
No, that's actually, I spent some time, I was going to go in and, take, video capture of all the different relics, and I was like, oh, there's not even any information about, where this, no fluff as to where it came from, why I give a crap.
The in-game rule is, here are relics. Go get them all. Well, why?
Yeah.
So they do unlock these things called psi gates, which you have. A psi gate just means you teleport your guys back to your little ordinary spaceship and you recharge their health and you get all your apothecary, who's the medic in this game, you get his little heals back. So if you get more relics, you get more psi gates. Cool. But that doesn't really incentivize me. One, I didn't use psi gates that often.
You start with 4, I believe, right? 4?
2, then 3, then it goes up and down.
Okay, maybe because I got relics. I never felt like I ran out of psi gates, ever. I didn't feel like I...
We both played on normal difficulty, I believe, right?
Yeah. Just whatever default was.
Yep. And I feel like that's a good representation for everyone who's going to play the game. The problem is it's artificially hard because even though it's a PC game, it relies on a console save system. And the autosaves are abhorrent. Sometimes they're okay. Most of the time, they're spread out way too far. Because what happens in this game is they try and make it longer by you have one objective down here in this part of the map. You'll get up to here, and then put the other objective way back down here. So, nope, you got to go all the way across the map again. Then you go all the way back up to... I get it. Don't make us do that. Figure out some way than making me go back and forth through the whole damn map 12 times.
Especially since your character is a Terminator, and of course you're going to move slowly.
You're a tank. You're a
giant,
walking tank.
And so, you know where you have to go, and you've already cleared that area, so you're just slowly and...
ponderously lumbering. And
through an empty hallway.
Yeah. And then a lot of times when you're going from point A to point B for your next objective, you can get killed. Because randomly they'll put more gene stealers there. And it's like, holy crap. So you'll die, and you're way back at the beginning, and you just have to trudge back up there again. It's like, guys, that's not fun. That's annoying. I don't want to see this stuff again. Why not just make a more linear map from point A to point B instead of making it so it's circular and going around? It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's dumb.
Yeah, and if there was reasons for me to, like, if they're going to put something there, or, there wasn't a reason to want to play the game at all.
And as Terminator, it's cool. Like, again, I feel like they captured how it would feel like to move around in Terminator armor, which is like this giant, like, layered suit of armor that you have, and you can carry weapons that no one else would be normally, even like Space Marines, be able to carry. And you're like this big, clanking monstrosity. Great, but again, you've got to figure out some way to make it so it's not a hindrance to get from here to there. You can sprint for like 5-second burst or something. It takes forever to recharge. Then you encounter a gene stealer that when it dies, it drains your sprint for no reason. It's like, oh, okay, great. Oh my god. And then, so here's the other problem I have. Gene stealers get boring after a while. After like the first mission.
Yeah.
So what do? They make different kinds of gene stealers. Why not just use... You're already talking about Tyranids. They talk about Tyranids in the form of the game. Why not use other Tyranids instead of just trying to make gene stealers different? Why not use Hormigons or Termagants or Carnifexes or Tyrannofexes? And what I'm saying is these are all different kinds of Tyranids that you could put in here. Instead they're like, it's a gene stealer, it's big and strong. Oh, you mean it's Carnifex? It's a gene stealer, shoots at you. Oh, it's a warrior? Like, why not just do that? Again, it's clear to me they don't understand the core of 40K. They just kind of leafed through the booklet real quick. They looked at Space Hulk and they're like, cool, let's just capitalize on this. And we're going to release it. That sucks. Don't do that.
Yeah, no. Just not a good game.
For someone like me, you're alienating, again, a 40K player who really wants to kind of see all these cool things brought to life. I want to see these guys. I want to see the Blood Angels. I want to see the different Tyranids. Put those in there. For a normal player who likes first-person shooters, they're not going to get anything out of this. They don't know. It's going to be impenetrable. What are these aliens? What's the point of me being here? Why am I not just playing Doom?
Why am I not just playing any other game? That really was mine.
So there is co-op in the game. We talked about playing it. Unfortunately, we only have one review copy between the two of us, so we can't play co-op together. I've heard the co-op is okay. Sorry, guys. I don't want to go and play co-op. No fucking way. It's from what I've read, it's the exact same game, just that you're playing with humans, which can make it a little bit better. But apparently it has serious problems, such as there's burst damages from certain types of melee weapons. They didn't fix that, so it will actually hurt your own guys. So it's like, well, I guess I'm not going to use those melee weapons. You can turn friendly fire off, but then it just takes away the challenge of it. So it's not like it's a whole separate campaign for co-op.
No.
So why am I incentivized to play through the game again with co-op? Oh. So we talked about this a little bit before. I'd like to kind of expand on it, which is there is a little bit of an RPG-light skill system. However, it's aped directly from Dawn of War 2, if you guys have played that game, where depending on how many relics you get and how many times you die and how many times you don't die, how many enemies you kill, blah, 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 you get a certain amount of skill points at the end of the mission. You can then spend those skill points with 3 different trees. One's like a psychic tree that you can get more psychic powers. One is to make your guys more durable and like they get immune to instant death, things of that nature. That part was okay.
Yeah, I buffed up my guys thinking I was going to make my squad a little smarter. It didn't make them smarter. I felt like I was kind of threw my points away.
Yeah, it felt really arbitrary. And again, it was lifted, even the design of it was lifted directly from Dawn of War 2 to the point of just outright plagiarism. And you know what? If you're going to steal from a good game, great, do that more often. Maybe take more from Dawn of War 2 than just the skill tree. So you only have access to certain psychic powers. You can get extra ones from doing that. I invested in that a little bit, and it was kind of fun. And I know we're trashing this game pretty hard. There were points where I had fun. There were. It wasn't like terrible to the point of being totally awful.
Sorry, I can't talk because
like
I started to talk there and I was like, oh, my throat is getting... Okay, I'll end it there.
Okay, we'll talk quick about the map, like redundancy, and then we can go into the conclusion. That'll work.
We didn't talk about how your guys just like go running away, like the AI pathing issue.
Oh, okay.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like my guys, like one time my guy was just like a quarter of the way across the map.
There's clipping issues. They get caught and stuff.
And then they just run?
They will try and get back to you, and sometimes their scripting gets thrown off and they'll go run somewhere else.
Yeah, like the other side of the map.
Yeah. Let's tackle that real quick then. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Also, the squad AI, as we said, is not great. There were severe clipping issues and there were scripting issues, which you encountered a lot.
Yeah, their path would just suddenly, they'd be a quarter of the way across the map one time. I looked up and one of my guys was missing, like quite missing, and I had to hit like follow, and he didn't come back. I had to go get him.
Yes, that happened to me a few times too.
So even my command to tell him to follow, he was just stuck wherever he was. I don't know if I had dropped him there, but he just,
No, again, I think it was because they're big, bulky frames, and they didn't do enough optimization, so they get caught in certain things, and they get stuck there, and their little... The way they had it probably programmed was you've got to try and get back to you, but got thrown off, so they go to some other part of the map. And these maps are huge.
Yeah, they're really big, and everybody's really slow, because they're in a big suit, so it's like, suddenly one guy's gone, and it's kind of a big deal. I almost died there. That was my challenge.
A few times, I ended up using a side gate because I didn't want to run across the map to go get my lost buddy. Mm-hmm. So they would just teleport you back. It's a huge waste. So, in spoilers, I guess, if you even care about spoilers, it's such a short game, and there's not really any spoilers story-wise to speak of. You accomplish your task and you blow up the space hulk. Big surprise. The last 2 missions are carbon copies of 2 missions you did earlier. You just, instead of going from the beginning to the end, go from the end to the beginning. That's bullshit. You literally just copied the map and you tried to kind of be like, oh, you're going back through it. No, you just ran out of time to make the game. And you copied the last 2 maps and you put in all the same enemies. The end of the game is just a horde of enemies coming at you and a timer counts down.
Again.
Again. That's all this game is. There is no unique, awesome Swarm Lord or maybe a Hive Tyrant or a giant Gene Stealer. Nothing. Just stand in the middle, shoot guys till the timer goes off.
And there wasn't even like anybody saying anything at the end. Like they just end. You blow up the ship and then done. Back to the main menu.
All these relics you have to collect. Apparently, you don't even get to look at the relics you've collected at the end. There's no voiceover saying here's what happened. Just game over. Title screen.
Yep, that's it.
Game sucked. Don't play it. Look, it's hard for me to do this. I realize games are hard to make. Believe me. I've never made a game myself, but I've talked to a lot of developers in my time. I've been to a lot of studios. I've seen what it takes to make these games. It's hard to make a game. I get it. Don't make shitty games. If it's gonna be this bad, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but man, so bad.
Yeah.
So
I didn't make it through. So, I can't. I don't know.
Sorry, guys. You tried. I don't think it's for a lack of effort. Maybe it was financial constraints. Maybe it was just a lack of creative energy. I don't know what it was. I think the fact that 2 studios teamed up to make it is very telling that there were huge problems. And they're probably just like, yeah, fuck it. We're just going to release it. We'll make a little bit of money off it. If that was your goal, congrats. You did it. So, yeah. Anyway, Bree, would you recommend Space Hammer Warhulk?
No.
40,000?
No, absolutely not. I would not. I didn't even make it through the game. There's so many good games out right now. I can't. I can't put in 12 hours to a game that's just giving me the same thing again and again. Add any kind of small anything to this game and you might start getting somewhere. There was no tactical, there wasn't enough of the RPG element, it wasn't enough game.
Yeah.
To make me give a shit.
I would actually say I would recommend it maybe to, if you're a hardcore 40K fan and you really want to see what it would be like to walk through an Imperator class battle barge for a Space Marine chapter. If you just wanted to really be like, I want to envelop myself in this universe and just see, maybe then. For anyone else, and that's like 1% of us, by the way. For anyone else, fuck no, stay away. This game sucks. Like, it's not fun. It's frustrating. There's no good conclusion.
It's kind of buggy.
Yeah. No, stay away. Go play Darkest Dungeon, which we might actually talk about next time around. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Good luck and have fun, and we will see you next time.